Well, hello and welcome to the eCommerce podcast with me, your host, Matt Edmondson. The eCommerce podcast is all about helping you deliver e-commerce well. And to help us do just that, today I'm chatting with Phil Byrne from Positive Sparks about tips from the playbook of a PPC expert. Oh yes, we're going to pick his brains all about PPC and Google and all those kind of things today. We're going to get into it. But before we do, let me remind you, dear awesome listener, if you haven't done so already, sign up to the newsletter on the website at ecommercepodcast.net. All we do with that, by the way, is we just send you the show notes and links straight to your inbox. No spam, no messing, no nothing. It's pretty straightforward stuff, so you want to sign up for that. Stay on top of everything that's going on. And let me give a big shout out also to the e-commerce cohort. You can find out more about them at ecommercecohort.com. This is our monthly membership group, and inside the group we have workshops delivered by experts about all kinds of weird and wonderful topics. We've just done one around what have we got coming up? Optimization, Optimonk. Yes, we've got Optimonk doing some stuff on optimization in the cohort, so do come sign up for that. Check out more information at ecommercecohort.com, because besides getting access to the expert monthly workshops and all that sort of stuff, you also get access to watch these recordings, the podcast recordings of e-commerce podcast live. You get to ask the guests your questions if you do so. And if you are watching this episode live, I know a couple of you are, do apologise for the mess up at the start again. If you're just listening to this, you'll have no idea what I'm talking about, but I did severely mess up the start, but that's okay. We're back on track. More information about Cohort can be found, like I said, at ecommercecohort.com, or just follow the links from ecommercepodcast.net. Be great to see you in there. Now, before I get into today's conversation, let me give a bit of a shout out and a mention to Alan Gormley, who has been on the show, and Alan is an absolute legend. And the reason I want to do that, Alan from shopbox.ai, he introduced us. He introduced me to Phil, who is and has been diving into the digital realm since 1999. With a melody in his step, he pioneered one of the world's unique commission-based PPC agencies in 2008. This vintage digital aficionado has collaborated with top-notch entrepreneurs and propelled numerous projects to the skies. He is a treasure trove of secrets and tales, and we're going to get into all of them. Yes, we are. Phil, great to have you on the show, man. Thanks for joining us. How are we doing today, good sir?
Hi, Matt. It's great to be here. Feeling good. Hope you are too. Looking forward to the chat.
Yeah, feeling good. Now we're actually got the conversation underway, and we've moved past the blip. But yeah, it's good. Whereabouts in the world are you?
So I'm based in Cornwall.
Mm-hmm.
We have three of the team in Cornwall, including myself. So every day, pretty nice life. I get up, look at the sea, and then come back and do some pay-per-click or help the team do their pay-per-click as it is these days.
Whereabouts in Cornwall are you?
So I live in a village called St Agnes.
Mm.
The company main office is in Truro, which is about 6 miles away.
Yeah.
But I spend most of my time working from home, walking down to the sea, mixing my kids really with the digital life that we have.
Yeah, no doubt. You don't sound like you're from Cornwall, though. I'm not being funny.
No. So originally, I come from a small Cumbrian village near Carlisle.
Yeah.
So it's really a town. It's not a village. It's called Maryport. So
Yeah.
if ever you're up that way,
Yeah.
take a visit. It's a place that doesn't get the same amount of traffic as Keswick and Windermere and all the more famous places around my hometown.
Maryport. I can't say I've obviously done Windermere. I've done Keswick. I've done the lakes many times. It's an hour and a half away from me. But so Maryport's a place worth looking at.
It's a lot different to St Agnes. It's a town that needs some kind of look, I guess, to happen to it.
Yeah.
But it's a beautiful view of Scotland. So a beautiful thing. Go down to the seafront. You're looking right across the water at what is Dumfriesshire. I guess Dumfries and Galloway. Yeah. So that's worth seeing, Matt.
Yeah.
And the fish and chips are good too.
Okay.
I'll recommend them.
Good. It's funny, isn't it? English tourism. What's it based around? Is there a good pub or a chippy? We just want to know.
That's it. Got those things covered, you're great.
Wow, absolutely. It's good to talk to a fellow Brit. So welcome to the show. Interestingly, I just finished recording a podcast about an hour ago for another show we do called Push to Be More with a lady from Cornwall. She was from Essex originally. She now lives in Newquay. And she just said, you know what? I'm coming to Newquay twice a year because we love it over here so much. I'm just moving. And so they just moved over about 5 years ago and have never looked back since, really. Is that what happened to you?
Well, we came 9 years ago now. So we've been here a little while. And we were actually living abroad at the time. We were living in Ireland before we came to Cornwall. And my wife is American. So we spent a long time trying different places.
Yeah,
So when you're an international family, there's no perfect place to live.
that's true.
So the world opens up to you.
Yeah.
And we tried different countries, and then we just wanted to come back to the UK. Some of that was career opportunities. And we chose Cornwall because we'd heard it was the sunniest.
Yeah.
It was the warmest. Some days that is true, Matt. I wouldn't say it's the truth overall, but it's a beautiful place to live. We've had kids here now, so
Fantastic.
that's more tied us to Cornwall.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. That's awesome. I like that. They the sort of the borders opening up to international families and actually also being in digital now, you can pretty much do your job anywhere from the world, right?
That's right. Well, Jessica, my wife, and I, we started remote working. It didn't have that name back then.
Yeah.
But we started that back in 2011. So it was quite a long time ago. And it was her PhD that made it happen originally. So she did a PhD in the music of the tango. So we went to Buenos Aires.
Oh, wow.
We had some time there.
Wow.
That started the whole thing off.
Yeah. That sounds amazing. I mean, to do a PhD in the music of the tango, I think it is quite... I'm a doctor. What are you a doctor in?
The music of the tango.
So
what actually happens for her is everyone thinks she's a medical doctor. And they ask her advice. My leg's hurting.
Yeah. I'm
not feeling good. And she has to explain.
Just go do the tango and everything will be all right, It's really, it's fascinating, isn't it? Absolutely. So does that mean you're very, very good at the tango?
We tried the dance and neither of us were that good at it, and probably even worse altogether. Because you have to... The one thing I learned from the tango is all of your relationship things come out in that dance, Matt. So if you have an argument that day, it's not going to go well.
Wow. Okay. Fair play. Fair play to you. So how did you get involved in PPC then?
So a long time ago, as you said, I've been online for a long time. So I've always been into music, as I can see you are with your drums behind you and everything else.
I could claim credit for those. They belong to my son, who has, it just makes a really cool backdrop. But the drums that you see belong to my son, who's buggered off to university now. So Sharon, my wife, is like, right, I'm converting his room into a guest room, and so she moved the drum kit, and was able to just put them in the studio because it just make a great backdrop. And if he ever wants to play them, it's away from the house. So I wish I don't play the drums, Phil, but I do play the guitar and keyboard. So
Well, there's that musical heritage. So you do have music in the family.
Apparently. Wailing, maybe, but yeah.
Still there. So it all began for me back in the late 90s. I just left university. I'd been involved with bands at university. And I ended up helping the other university in Leeds, which was called Leeds Polytechnic at the time.
Yeah. Remember those days?
Remember those days?
Yeah.
To put on their bands and do different things. So from there, we began to promote the events with very early websites. So, Netscape Composer was the first thing.
Oh, jeez, yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
Yeah, totally. And then I started to do websites for bands, and that grew into promotion. So SEO was the first thing that I really discovered as a marketing channel. And then that moved into my own affiliate sites, doing websites for other companies in and around Leeds and beyond.
Yeah.
And then suddenly pay-per-click arrived. And then a few years after that, don't you remember the first big SEO change was Panda, Google Panda, which came through, changed a lot of the rankings for sites. So pay-per-click was about 20% of my life until that happened. At the time, I had all these hotel comparison sites, which were really affiliate sites, using different SEO techniques to be ranking high for hotels in whatever town.
Yeah.
And that was my main source of income at the time. And then
Okay.
Panda hit, and overnight, that income went down by 90%.
Wow.
So after getting over the shock of that, I also realized at the same time what Google had done was Panda was a big story, but Google Ads had gone through quite a transformation around about the same moment,
Wow.
and it offered these new opportunities. So that's what really took me into pay-per-click. And then the client side of my life was beginning to grow at the same time. So those opportunities, I would look out for them too. I was still living in Leeds. It was before we really left that all the pay-per-click world began. And Leeds had a Google office. So I could meet up with my rep. It was a lot different then. Your rep wanted the contact from you. Whereas these days it's so hard to talk to Google support at all. And it all grew from there. And then as SEO changed and became perhaps less powerful, pay-per-click became more powerful.
It's really fascinating. Yeah. And here we are. It's fascinating listening to your journey because I started in websites in '98. The first website I ever built was for a friend. His church wanted a website, and he came to me and he said, "Matt, do you know anybody that builds websites?" And there's some friends of mine do them, but they're thousands of pounds because no one had a clue back then. I said, "But if you want, I know there's some software out there. Buy the software for me. I'll figure it out." Because I was busy selling saunas and steam rooms at the time. And I, as you do, I just said, I just saw an opportunity and I was like, I'll do it, just buy the software. And he bought, do you remember Dreamweaver?
I used to use it.
Yeah. Dreamweaver and one of the very first versions of Dreamweaver. And what was the graphics one? Was it Fireworks? Was that what it was called?
Fireworks, that's right.
Yeah,
the same company, wasn't it? Macromedia.
Yeah, Macromedia, before they were bought out by Adobe. And they...
Right.
And so they were like, yeah. So they and I did this website for them, and I did a website for Sharon and I, who were just about to get married. So this was 25 years ago. So we did these websites back then. So I'm just listening to your journey. I'm just remembering all of this, going, geez, man. So yeah, going back to the old days, the old Polytechnic days as well. So trip down memory lane. So here we are, Phil. All these years later, you're still involved in PPC.
Yep.
You didn't obviously get totally wiped out when your hotel websites disappeared. And so you've obviously learned a thing or two about PPC over the years. What are some of the big sort of changes that you've noticed that maybe are for the good or maybe not for the good?
Well, it's definitely a mix of both. So, one of the big changes originally was the rise of more ads. So every platform, whether it's Google, Meta, TikTok now, they're all going to generate their income from ads. So what really happens to the platform is ads begin to dominate the space.
Yeah.
Now, is that a good or a bad thing? Well, it creates opportunity for e-com brands who want to promote their products. But at the same time, I think it does always take a little bit of the soul of what that platform is. And it's how successful the platform is going forward is how they balance that mix of income versus. I think Google Shopping has been a massive, massive change for e-com brands.
Yes, it has. Yeah.
So the fact that shopping came into being allowed us the opportunities to promote products in a very different way with an image, an offer price. At the same time, Google Shopping feeds are a whole opportunity in themselves. Really, they have a lot of similarity with SEO in our ability to manipulate which products are shown and which ones we want to put less attention on. I think that's changed things dramatically. YouTube, beginning to launch their ads, that is really a big part of how Google is growing now, certainly through Performance Max and all the smart campaigns, which mix all of the different platforms that they own. YouTube is just such a rising force. It's perhaps the part of Google which has the most opportunity.
Yeah.
Whereas search is so congested now.
Yeah.
Shopping the same. It's a bit tougher to find your gap. Then, of course, social media, Matt, when you and I began, there was no social media.
That's right.
And now we have a world that's pretty much driven by social media.
Yeah, we
And
do.
there's a good and a bad to that as well, isn't there? But in terms of pay-per-click, all of those platforms, Meta especially, has opened up new
Yeah.
ways of reaching people that should potentially adore what you create and promote. So those things, I think every year we can say that some new opportunity has come.
Yeah.
I don't see that changing for a
Yeah.
while.
Yeah. No, it's very true. So much there. Phil, do me a favour. For those watching on video, just step slightly to your right so you're a bit more central. There we
There we
go. There we go. We were starting
I'm
to lose
beginning
you.
to lean.
People just thought I was talking to a white wall for a little minute there.
Apologies.
No, not at all. Fascinating you're talking about YouTube. And the reason why I picked this up straight away is we had on the show a few months ago a chap called Brett Curry. And Brett Curry hosts an e-commerce podcast. OMG Commerce is his company. And he's an absolute legend, Brett. I met him in Austin. We had some food together. We caught up, stayed in touch. Really nice guy, tall guy. He's got 8 kids. 8 kids. Yeah, that was my response as well. I was like, dude, have you figured out what's causing this yet? Do you need? But he's awesome. Him and his wife totally in love having a big family, and just an absolute legend of a chap. But he was saying, like you, that YouTube ads for him are the big opportunity of the moment in a lot of ways if you can get them right.
Right.
Is that what you found as well? Have you done much with YouTube ads?
Well, for the right brands, it's a great channel. So it has to be a visual brand. Yeah. One thing I think Meta and YouTube have in common is they are great places to promote the positive things in life. So travel, some product which is going to make you look better, feel better. Those are fantastic for video fronted ads. Things which are a bit more stuff we don't want to think about, health insurance, remedies to things which are not great. It's tougher for those kinds of products. But certainly YouTube, because it keeps growing so much and people are drawn there for all kinds of reasons, it just has such a huge audience. So if you can find that way to place your ads on the right channels, on the right videos that have already the audience that you seek to reach, it's a good channel. YouTube recently brought out their own version of lead ads. And I think that's what I would say. It really offers a massive opportunity to generate subscribers, whether that's email, SMS, and then it's all down to the rest of your funnel as to how great those ads are going to work out for you. And that's where we see the opportunity most of the time.
It's interesting you talk about the sort of the positive life brands doing well with those kind of places. And it's interesting you use that phraseology because I'd not thought about it like that. And actually, you kind of go, well, that makes a lot of sense. Yes, why would I try and sell life insurance? I dare say some companies do and do it successfully if they find the right audience that they're trying to target. Is YouTube? Rephrase it. Are YouTube ads tied into the Google Ads platform, or is it a separate, distinct platform?
So it's all part of Google Ads, part of their network. So if you run a Performance Max campaign, which is the newest type of Google campaign, then they will automatically run your ads across everything. So you've got search, you've got the display network, which is when your ads appear on a third-party site, and you have YouTube. So even if you have no video content, your ads can appear within YouTube search results as a normal text ad. And all of those things will happen for you. And Google is pushing us all into using everything on their network. And some of that is because on the positive side, it does increase the opportunity. At the same time, we're going to spend more from their point of view. So watching what happens and keeping an eye on which YouTube channels your ads appear on, assessing whether they're right or wrong, is all part of optimizing your spend there as much as you can.
Yeah, it's fascinating, isn't it? It's interesting to me how big YouTube now. I mean, for the longest time we've been saying, I say the longest time. I'm trying to think in my head. for the last 5 or 6 years, I know I've been saying to people YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world, and you can't ignore it, right? Brands can't ignore YouTube. You've got to be on YouTube in some form or another, because it is so massive. But I mean, going back, Polytechnic days and all that sort of stuff. Do you remember that announcement that Google bought YouTube for $1 billion, and we were all utterly flummoxed by why they would do that?
We look back now, and
And
it
you
was a
just think,
fantastic move.
what one of the best business moves you've seen for a long time, and it flummoxed everybody because no one saw it coming. $1 billion for that? Are you mad? But look at what it's turned into, and the money that it generates is unbelievable.
Absolutely. And this is you and I, Matt, sounding like old men. Look, $1 billion in today's world is not that big anymore.
It's true. It was back then, right? I'm trying to remember. I don't know if I'd ever heard of a $1 billion company buyout before that. I think there must have been one, but it was so new and it was so surprising. And yet here we are all just going, whoever made that decision is an utter genius, and then everyone's going, how did Google have $1 billion just to spend on a company like that, and not even, where did it get that money? And you just think, well, Google in itself is a pretty genius money-making machine, isn't it? So hats off to them. You love them or hate them, they've done an amazing job. So tell us a bit about, you've mentioned Google Max, Performance Max, a couple of times. For those that might not know, just explain what that is, because that's a fairly recent event, isn't it?
It is. So Performance Max is a new type of campaign which Google is continuing to grow the options within this type of campaign. It's what we'll call a Google Smart campaign. So what we're doing is we're giving Google more license and freedom to spend our budget on our target market, keywords, audiences, as it sees fit.
Yeah.
Whereas what we used to do in pay-per-click is we would control every keyword that Google would approach. We might control every third-party website if we're doing Google display. And the same on YouTube, we would control every channel and video that the ad would appear on. In PMax, it's different. We're allowing Google this ability to spend on our behalf. The theory being that Google is able to track our potential customers better cross-network, understand from its own larger data set where our audience sits, and in the end, give us more return at lowest cost per acquisition or lead, whatever we're seeking to do, and make our campaigns work better. Google also claims, I think it's correct on this, that it reaches more people.
Yeah.
And all of these advantages allow people who can make Performance Max work.
Yeah.
It does allow them to scale to a higher level on Google Ads than before. If we cannot get Performance Max to work, and not everybody does, then we still have to be able to go in there and optimize and learn what did work and what didn't. And the downside to Performance Max is the data is much more hidden. So we're not able to go very granular as we did before. There are ways to research a bit deeper, often using third-party tools, which help us dissect what happened on Performance Max. But it's really a trade-off between having less data to look at, but having more opportunity in the end.
Yeah, it's interesting. And what do you think personally, Performance Max? Has it achieved what Google set out to achieve, or not?
I think it has, to a large extent. We found for a lot of our clients, it's helped them grow. We do lots of shopping campaigns. So where Performance Max has really brought success is when we've broken it down to promote the best-selling products. So one thing that works out in e-commerce, to dissect that a bit, is the 80-20 rule.
Yeah.
So 80% of our income comes from 20% of the products, sometimes less.
Yeah.
So every campaign, whether it's Performance Max or standard, has a better chance of success if we focus on the 20%. That's where we're going to grow. So Performance Max, I think, has helped most brands grow who do that.
Yeah.
If they try and use Performance Max to sell things that didn't sell, so well before, it's tough.
Yeah.
Pay-per-click tends to scale what's happening already. So
Right.
if there's issues with a product, with the business itself, it'll scale that.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to make business-focused decisions to make PMax work. I think another difference is that Performance Max needs what we call signals. So a good signal is a segment of your audience, which is exactly who you want to reach with that campaign.
Mm.
And that's different to keyword optimization that we traditionally did
Yeah.
on Google Ads. So the better we are at segmenting out our audience and sending just the portion that has bought or added to cart or done something positive around the specific products in that campaign, that'll help us make Performance Max perform better.
Yeah.
If we give it everyone that's at the site, then the signal is not strong.
Yeah.
We kind of have to think of it in a different way
Yeah.
too.
Okay. So would Performance Max, I'm just thinking, Phil, for people that are maybe starting out in e-commerce and they've not got the budget necessarily to go get an agency involved, working from their, the back room, as it were, selling the products online. Would Performance Max be worth looking at or not really?
I think it's tougher. So if it's a brand new ad account, you're better off starting with standard shopping or standard search and then getting a few conversions and other signals in that ad account.
Yeah.
So the more conversions, the more data it has, the better you're going to expand into Performance Max.
Yeah.
So that's probably the best advice for
Yeah.
something. Yeah.
Yeah. No, fair enough. And then I guess to sort of spring it on from that, if I'm just starting out, at what point from your experience does it make sense for the startup to reach out to an agency and say, please help us with PPC now? What point on the trajectory should I be thinking about that?
I think when you've done at least 3 to 6 months worth of pay-per-click, sometimes more.
Yeah.
Since when you're seeing sales happen, people show interest in what you're selling.
Yeah.
And you feel that you don't have the time as well. That's another factor. Run all of your ads yourself. I think if you are quite technically minded, you can learn how to run pay-per-click and you can do it. You should do it yourself for as long as you can. I think a brand owner always understands their products better than any agency can. But when you start to see sales, your time begins to diminish. You feel like you can scale, but you're not able to with the techniques that you've used.
Yeah.
Great time to go to an agency
and get an agency involved. Yeah, no, fair play. It was. I remember the day that because we used to do PPC in house, because when PPC first came out, it was the easiest thing in the world to do.
So easy.
It was just ridiculous, really. In fact, we built an e-commerce brand just on the basis of the fact that PPC was really easy. It's like, okay, let's just buy the ads for this because they're so cheap and we make so much. Why would we not do this and just scale it out, right? Those days didn't last very long, Phil.
Gone, Matt. Wild West days.
Yeah, such is the shame. But you're like, oh, geez. But I remember our default, we just did them in-house. And we were spending like 20, 30 grand a month on Google Ads. And we were like, at some point, we looked at it and went, we are got to be better off outsourcing this because people are now, they're experts and we've got enough budget and enough data to get the experts to tweak what we do because we just weren't doing it. We were so busy doing other things. And I remember when we moved over to an agency, the difference it made was night and day. And we spent half as much but got 4 times the amount of sales. And it wasn't because we didn't know what we were doing. We just were not experts in that field. And so when, like you say, budget and time allowed, it's like, I'm going to step aside and let the experts loose. So even today, even in our e-commerce companies now, paid media is, for me, and is outsourced, is always a specialist thing that I get. I don't need to figure that out internally. You know, we can do whatever, email marketing, or we can do the website maintenance and all that sort of stuff. But I just think you need the experts personally, it's my experience, you need the experts on with when it comes to PPC. Just mainly because it changes so quickly as well, you know.
It does. It does. And I think what does happen when you work with many clients, you begin to see the same problems, but with different products, different brands, different countries.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they're network issues. So sometimes the whole network has a problem with a certain type of ad. And as an agency, you can act in the day to save all of your clients some spend if there's an issue. Or if we see that suddenly this month pay-per-click is really cheap, January, for example, is a cheap month for pay-per-click, then if we're selling, let's up the budget. Let's do something.
Yeah.
Now, all of that ability to react and to bring in the latest techniques and the latest changes. You know, we have a new type of Google campaign launching this month called Demand Gen.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really a reboot of their discovery ads, but it'll bring change and opportunity.
Yeah.
And just as you experienced with your own ecom brand, there's always that time, that kind of 2-3 months where something new that everybody catches on to until you have opportunity. And then 6 months down the line, everyone's talking about it, and that space has gone. And because pay-per-click is an auction, really what we're doing is trying to find space.
Yeah.
We can control the cost per click, or we can reach an audience that no one quite now is, or not enough people are reaching to push the auction up too high.
That's really good. That's awesome, because that's actually one of my questions was, I mean, you know, there were these sort of Wild West days where you could just, you know, almost write your own check. And part of my question was, well, what's the next Wild West? Because there's always going to be one, you know. And as e-commerce entrepreneurs, we spend hours trying to figure out what it is. Is there something that we can capitalize on? So from a PPC point of view, is that what you think is the next Wild West?
Demand gen. It will be for a little while. You know, Google is so big, and so many people are now very aware of something new that Google does.
Yeah.
Other places, other networks are also developing their own pay-per-click too. So TikTok a year ago became the new Wild West.
Yeah.
Maybe more than a year ago.
Yeah.
The networks right now who are pushing new pay-per-click platforms through are Quora and Reddit.
Okay.
Both of those, if your brand is question, informational related, or you are a company who sells something relevant to something which is discussed often, both of those hold opportunity.
Yeah.
Pinterest is pushing very hard to take some of the audience away from Meta. So right now they have a pretty good offer where they'll do all your creative for free. And if you spend more than $2,000 in a month, they'll give you an extra 50% of that credited back.
Oh, wow.
So, you know, it's a good time to test Pinterest if you feel it's relevant to you. But then, you know, things like that, new platforms mean that you need a profile, you need to have an account that's updated enough to show presence. So they all create work. And so it all, again, Mark, comes down to time. How much time do you have in your team, in yourself, and which one's right for you? But there's always an opportunity. The other one that I think, especially if you're targeting the American market, that has some interesting things going on is Microsoft.
Okay.
They've been buying so many other sites, and you know, they bought LinkedIn a couple of years ago. So they are the only place that you can reach people on LinkedIn via ads outside of LinkedIn.
Yeah.
If you're selling B2B, there's probably opportunity there too. But all of these networks constantly buy things, constantly bring new things out, and each one of them creates that opportunity for a little while. And then we have to find the next opportunity.
I'm loving this. I especially I'm loving this because we jumped on Pinterest recently because we've mentioned it on the show before. We just thought Pinterest was a really interesting platform for our brands right now, and that there is some great opportunity there. And so we've definitely been playing around on Pinterest and getting some good results so far. I think we probably should throw some more money at it and scale it maybe a little bit quicker. Not thought about Quora or Reddit, so look, I got that in my notes. We'll be having conversations tomorrow with the team, Phil, no doubt. And then obviously Microsoft in the UK, in the US, you're never going to get rid of Microsoft, are you? It's always going to be there, and so why would you not do that? Now, that's some fascinating information there. Phil, listen, one of the questions we've got in from Cohort. If you were starting an e-commerce business today from scratch yourself, it's just you, and let's say, I'm just looking around my desk for anything that's interesting. Pens. You pick up a pen, right? So you've got a passion for pens. The website passionforpens.com by Phil. Phil's passion for pens. But a product like a pen or something like that, and you were starting up, how would PPC be part of your strategy, knowing what you know, so that if obviously someone's starting up here, if they I guess they just want to piggyback what you would do a little bit, if that makes sense. So what would you do then?
Definitely do Google Ads, because Google Ads is the place we reach a customer who's furthest down the line ready to buy.
Yeah.
So we want to find the most relevant searches. So our type of pen plus color.
Yeah.
So it's very, very relevant. Shopping feed, get Google Shopping running. And what I would do is monitor the traffic from shopping and search and watch what they do on the site. So a lot of the main two sides of optimization nowadays are the ads, also what's happening on the site.
Yeah.
So people drop out at the cart too often.
Yeah.
They reach a page and they disappear because it's not quite what they're after. And that traffic, because it's the most intentional, we want to watch that traffic a bit more.
Yeah.
What I would also do is run remarketing on Meta, because it's the best place to run remarketing online. Okay. The ad is the biggest space we get online. If we can find a relevant YouTube channel or YouTube presenters who reflect something about our pens which we want to connect with, so whether that's calligraphy or something else that we might want to connect to, I think that'd be a great place to run some lead gen. I would do the same on Meta, so Facebook lead ads, which in turn generate email for us that we can, or SMS that we can begin to nurture across time. And then when we have a Google Shopping feed, like I think one of the underutilized things online is a shopping feed. Because once we have one, we can then take it to other places.
Yeah.
So all affiliate networks take a shopping feed.
Okay.
So a great place for us to try affiliate marketing is to just upload our shopping feed and let those stream onto third-party sites that are going to send traffic to our site and help our remarketing. Because really, a lot of the way we see external third-party marketing traffic in terms of pay-per-click is we can remarket to it.
Right.
You had a really good interview with an influencer marketeer who was really asking everybody to see influencers as a storefront.
Yeah.
And I think that was a great phrase. You know, that's also what a shopping feed allows us to do. We can go and beyond our affiliate partner sites.
Yeah.
We can go to third-party sites. One of our clients put his shopping feed on DIY.com, which is owned by B&Q.
Yeah.
And that brought a whole new source of traffic onto his own website that generated sales, gave us traffic to remarket to, and just gave him more traffic in general. So in the beginning, with pay-per-click, we want to generate highly relevant traffic, watch what it does on our site, but we also want to use the assets we create for pay-per-click, the feed, the images, the videos, in as many places as we can. All within the budget that we have, which is the tough part.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So that's what I'll do. And I think every e-commerce site has to try and grab subscribers nowadays to make the most of that click that we just paid for. So if people aren't ready to buy, can we get them to sign up?
Yeah.
Can we do something to give us the opportunity to market to those people for the next 6 months or more? And that's how I would play that.
Yeah.
All in all.
Top tip, top advice there. I love that. Getting the subscribers, the email addresses especially, so you can retarget them, remarket them. Would that those things you talked about, the Google Ads, the remarketing on Meta, YouTube channel lead gen, Meta lead ads, and distribution of your shopping feed. Would that apply for, say, a digital product? So we get a lot of people listening to the show who are doing now digital products, like the online courses or the, like the memberships. Fitness would be a classic one, come join my fitness group and all that sort of stuff. Would that apply to those as well?
It'd be slightly different.
Okay.
So Google really does not want us to sell digital products through shopping feeds.
Okay.
People do find third-party ways to make that happen. But digital products is all usually need driven. So usually a digital product fixes a problem, a question, a element of training that we need. So really we want to target search is our most important thing in terms of Google ads. YouTube again, can we find channels, spaces that address the audience we're trying to reach, to hit the same issues.
Yeah.
Meta is a great place to sell things which are educational or resolving a health issue, if it happens to be that. And you just play it slightly without the shopping feed there. The affiliate side is a bit tougher, but the influencer side is highly relevant because we do find lots of influencers pushing certain things that we're trying to learn. The one thing I missed out of the e-commerce side is Amazon, because Amazon is such a huge part of the internet now. They are actually the biggest buyer of Google Ads. So often our biggest competitor in Google Shopping can be our product on Amazon.
Beggars belief, but no, fair enough. That makes a lot of sense. So how do we deal with that?
With the Amazon side?
Yeah. So, Amazon are buying Google AdWords a lot cheaper than I am, I have no doubt. Selling the same product, competing for the space. How do I guess if I'm an established brand, this could be it's definitely been a problem for us in the past. You kind of like, well, how do I compete with that? Or how do I, what's our strategy for getting people to click us rather than Amazon, even though we're going to pay more money, probably be slightly lower down? What's some of your tips there?
Well, first thing is to bid against them, because your Amazon sale is going to cost you 15% or whatever their commission is.
Yeah.
So you have that budget to beat. Probably the most important thing is to have something that's different about the product purchase on your site to Amazon. Amazon is tough to compete with on price. Often they are actually cheaper than a lot of the same products on a company's site. But this is something else that we can offer, whether it's an additional freebie or something additional to that product itself, which is only available on the site. So we have to give it some kind of uniqueness. So then it's a real choice.
Yeah.
It's not just price.
Yeah.
And people really, I would say a lot of consumers actually trust Amazon more than they do the M brand. Because they're tried and trusted. They know they're going to get a refund. They're going to be here tomorrow.
Yeah.
All these things are strengths. So we have to create something on our own site.
Yeah.
Differentiates us.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Well, that was our strategy. You've got to create a compelling difference, right? You've got to increase the value in the mind of the perceived mind of the buyer. And so it's interesting. All these things you now have to think about, because again, I'm going back to when it first started. So I just set it and forget it. But now it's you've got to be on top of it a little bit. You've got to be watching this every day. You've got to be checking the budgets, the performance, what's working, what's not working. Plus, you've then got to stay on top of things like what the latest trends are. Where's all this sort of stuff coming out? What's sort of some of the publications or feeds or sites you follow to sort of stay up to date with the whole thing?
So on the Google Ads side, there's a great American company called Solutions 8. You might have heard of them.
Yeah.
There's a brilliant UK Google Ads guy called Ed Leake. So he has a Facebook group on Google Ads. He also has his own app, which can help you run your ads. And then a lot of the things I tend to stay ahead of outside of that, because I'm really a Google Ads guy. So, some of my team are more meta, more social media ads focused. So I tend to stay ahead of Google for heritage's sake, as much as keeping up with trends. But then I follow a lot of business blogs, a lot of business sites, which keeps me keeps my mind ahead of what's actually happening
Yeah.
out there in the economic world. And my role these days is a lot about steering the company in terms of new things we bring through, what's happening in the landscape, where do we want to be, and keeping ahead of that stuff. But I think Solutions 8, Ed League, great for Google Ads.
Fantastic. Watch this space. I've got one more question for you, Phil, because time has just flown by at 1,000 miles an hour. I'm just slowly working my way through the list. We've talked about a strategy for e-commerce startups. You've talked about where some of the hotspots are, which if we're already doing well on Google, we should look at. We've talked a little bit about digital products. So one person or one organization that I do want to touch on, partly because I serve on some boards, partly because I'm just genuinely interested, is charity. Now, Google have this system for charities, don't they, where you can get a $10,000 credit towards your ad spend every month. That's only, as far as I understand, that's only on it's only Google search ads. It's not to do with YouTube. It's nothing to do with Google Max and all that sort of stuff. It's just literally Google search ads. You can spend up to $10,000 on. Have you had any experience with that? So if there's a charity listening, maybe just explain what that is, because not every charity knows about it. And then we'll talk a little bit for a few minutes about how charities can exploit this.
No problem. So the scheme is called Google Grants. And there's a page which I can supply you with, Matt, where you can make an application. And what Google will do is they'll look at your status as a charity. Most of the time, they will award a grant, and that can be credited to an ad account for you to run search ads from. I think what a charity has to do is think about, in the same way we do in e-commerce, what do we want that ad spend to do?
Yeah.
Is it sponsors, volunteers? Is it donations? And each of those different things that we want to happen, we need to make sure we have a proper landing page for. I think where that spend can just disappear is if we just send people to the main site and not give them an intention. But it's a good thing that Google do. They're giving out lots of those grants. We do look at those organizations. Will actually help them at no charge if they fit with something that we sit with too. And I think it's a good scheme.
Yeah. No, it's really powerful. It's one organisation I'm involved with is using it. They're probably spending about $1,000 to $2,000 of the $10,000 allowance. Part of that is because of, I think, effort, for want of a better expression, because it's a bit like running any ads campaign, I suppose. You've got to know what you're doing a little bit, because there are certain terms and conditions, like you have to have a certain engagement rate or something, as best I understand it. If someone's setting a charity and going, well, we'd love to get agency involved, but we've not got the budget for agency, unless they come across people like yourself who, okay, if they can, we'll do work voluntary. Where's a good place to learn the basics about that type of thing so they can maximize the charity spend?
Yep. So Google themselves have a lot of great training courses. So you can actually get a Google Ads certification. So I think it's worth anyone involved in Google Ads, whether you run them yourself or you manage someone else who does, or an agency who does, to do that training.
Yeah.
I think if they did the Google search modules, they would have enough to start running their own ads.
Okay.
And then go at it from there. I think another thing for them to try, if they want someone else to run them, is to join some of the Facebook groups geared towards Google Ad techniques. And there's often people on there who say, I just want to have a couple of trial clients, test my techniques out on, and see if I can help.
Yeah.
And that, for a charity, can be a great result.
Yeah, absolutely. Top tip. Loving that one. We're going to get into some of those Facebook groups for some of the charities. No doubt whatsoever. That's fascinating. And just worth pointing out, if you are part of a charity, there is Google Grants. It is something worth looking at. It does extend beyond just the Google Ads spend, like you get free Google accounts. So I know that the ones I'm involved with, for example, all the emails, the calendars, all that sort of stuff is not something that they charge you for. It is a great thing they do. It is a bit of faff to get the account, but it's worth it in the long run if you get it, right? So, but I like this idea. My final question. I know I said that before, Phil, but this is genuinely my final question.
Sure.
Would you recommend e-commerce entrepreneurs maybe who use agency to do the Google AdWords certification just to give them that background knowledge?
100%. I think they should do Google Ads and Google Analytics.
Okay.
And those, really what's helped us become a commission-based PPC partner is the data,
Yeah.
more than the ads themselves. So I think for every entrepreneur, knowing your data and your ability to look into it and manipulate it so you see what you want to see
Yeah.
is key.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Commission-based agency. This is this intrigues me. Now, we'll talk about that because I want you to tell people how people reach you, and you can talk about what you do because I think this is fascinating what you do. Traditionally, agencies which I've worked with either have charged a flat fee or they charge a percent of ad spend, like 20%. So if you spend 10 grand on ads, they're going to charge you 2 grand. So your total spend is going to be the 10 plus the 2, which is 12. You work slightly differently, and this is quite unique, and I did want to give some time to this. So just explain what it is you do and why you have gone slightly bonkers with this whole thing.
It could be bonkers. So we've been commission-based for about 5 years now.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the advance in data tracking that made it an opportunity. I think that, you've used, and I've used the word agency in our chat, but I hate using that word. I've always wanted to be, with everything I've ever done, a partner. It's how I describe it.
Yeah.
So I want us to be on the same side of the fence. Whereas when you're charging a flat fee or you're charging a percentage of spend, you're not on the same side of the fence, in my opinion.
Okay.
There are still some great agencies who do that. And if they're working for you, brilliant. I think that's fine. But I want us to all work and benefit together when things go great. And us all to work together and look at what we're going to change when things are not performing too well. So we want to be commission-based with every client we work with. There are times when we have to do something different for a short period.
Mm-hmm.
So when data is not there to base this off, or when it's a brand new company,
mm-hmm.
we don't even know yet if this is going to work in the market, then we do charge, as a normal agency does, a flat fee for generally around 90 days.
Mm-hmm.
Then we want to go commission-based.
Yeah.
And if we're growing, it might turn into a half. So it's half a fee plus an element of commission. But every client that we work well with is commission-based.
Yeah.
That's how we want to be.
Yeah.
And it works well.
Yeah.
It's been brilliant for us in some instances. It's taught us a lot.
Yeah.
It means that we are more sales-focused than brand-focused. So depending on what you want your company to be,
mm-hmm.
choose the right partner. But it's what we become, and we're tried and trusted in that area. We've got to work with some amazing companies because we have that approach, and it's we don't tie anyone to long contracts, so people can try it, see if it works out. If it doesn't, fine.
Yeah.
If it does work out, everyone's happy.
Everyone's a winner. No, I love that. I love that model, and I love that idea, and it's wonderful. So, Phil, listen, if people want to reach out to you, if they want to find out more about what you're doing, or want to get in touch with you about maybe how you can help them, what's the best way to do that?
No problem. So you can look at our site, positiveSparks.com. All the contact forms there will come to me at the end. We'll go through the great team we have and then come to me. Very active on LinkedIn, so feel free to reach out LinkedIn, direct message me if you want. Mention the podcast, and I'll know that you've come from this chat I've had with Matt. There's 2 things we do which might interest people. One is a free audit of current ad status and accounts, and the second one is our tracking. If you want to try our tracking setup and you run an e-commerce store on Shopify or WooCommerce, then you're welcome to try that for 30 days and see if it shows you something that you didn't see before. Love to hear from people. It's always fun to chat like this, Matt. So anyone who's in the digital space, you always have a fun chat with.
Yeah. Absolutely. Phil, listen, genuinely, man, I'm always surprised how quickly time goes, but on this occasion, I'm even more surprised. And just really appreciate you coming on. Thoroughly enjoyed the conversation. Thank you for sharing the wisdom and the insights. And I think we should probably get you back on again at some point in the future just to give us an update on the industry. And I can ask you all the questions I didn't get to ask you. But yeah, Phil, listen, appreciate it, man. Absolute legend.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Well, what a great conversation. Huge thanks again to Phil for joining me today. And in fact, I've started doing this. Huge round of applause. Yes, go for it. Also, big shout out to today's show sponsor, the eCommerce Cohort. Remember to check them out. Think about come join the membership. It's not actually that expensive. eCommercecohort.com for more information. And of course, be sure to follow the eCommerce podcast wherever you get your podcasts from, because we've got some more great conversations lined up. And I don't want you to miss any of them. And in case no one has told you yet today, let me be the first person to tell you, you are awesome. Yes, you are. Created awesome. It's just a burden you have to bear. Phil's got to bear it. I've got to bear it. You've got to bear it as well. Now, the eCommerce podcast is produced by Orion Media. You can find our entire archive of episodes on your favorite podcast app. The team that makes this show possible is the wonderful Sadaf Bainon and Tanya Hutzelek. Our theme song was written by Josh Edmondson. And as I mentioned, if you would like to read the transcript or show notes, head over to the website ecommercepodcast.net. So that's it from me. That's it from Phil. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a fantastic week wherever you are in the world. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.